Hey everybody, the plan for today is to talk about ways that we can transition from our big lifts that have us in a even neutral double leg stance to a single leg stance. So not saying anything bad about a barbell squat or a deadlift or a kettlebell swing. Those are all great exercises. John even put them on the shirt. But it's a life we live one leg at a time, and it's a life we live in 3 dimensions. Those are largely one plane exercise in this stance. We don't do a ton of things athletically from this stance. We have to progress ourselves to single leg. There's a smart way to do it. Today, what I intend to do is to show you how to use a tool called the ultimate sandbag to bridge the gap from double leg exercises to single leg exercises, and that's just what we're gonna do. All right, before we start, I'm gonna assume you've not used one of these before, so I'm just gonna kind of familiarize you with the sandbag. So there are handles on it. There's a variety of different handles, and all of the handles have a little bit of play with them. The beauty of that is that they can be used as a tool to create tension. If you've done anything through the Pain-Free Performance Specialist, you know we want to generate tension to create core stability so we can have mobility with control of our limbs. This emphasizes that extraordinarily well. The handles that we use most of the time are here in the middle. They're referred to as the clean handles. Guess what exercise you do from there? On the back are some going the opposite way. They're the snatch handles. You can guess what they're for. This is the suitcase handle. These are referred to as the end handles. And you may also, for some of these exercises, grasp the bag itself like this, or depending on the exercise, like this. So the exercise I'm going to do to help you go into single leg hinges and single leg squats, we're going to start on the ground and we're going to begin in a single leg bridge. We're going to use the handles if your body is broad enough, or if you're built more like me, I'm going to grab the bag itself by the ends. So here's going to be single leg bridge. So I'm going to be holding the bag like this. I'm going to crush it and try to tear it. That irradiates tension. That's creating tension in my core for me before I start. I come up here in my single leg bridge, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a chop pattern, lift pattern, those PNF patterns in this fashion, as well as this fashion. Now, while I'm doing that, I'm creating a ton of tension because I'm squeezing it and trying to tear it at the same time. That really lights up my core, and it finds a way, just like with John's warm-up, you're getting tired from not doing something that doesn't look like very much because of you're creating so much tension. So crush the bag, try to tear the bag, and you'll be chopping and lifting in both diagonal patterns, both towards the support side and away from the support side. So remember, you grab the bag and try to tear it. You'll never see, if you're doing it right, you'll never see the bag sag in the middle. You see that. So I'm tensioning as hard as I can. I come up in my single leg bridge position, and I can go in one diagonal or the other. And I'm trying to keep my balance as I tear it and as I go through that diagonal pattern. Single leg stability, 3 planes of motion challenge, tons of tension, lots of good stuff. Next exercise we're going to still be on the ground, but going from laying on our back, bridging, now we're up to all fours doing a bird dog exercise. You'll notice that in addition to the sandbag, I've got a mini band from Perform Better, and that is to help me train how to stabilize one leg when I push through the other. It's just feedback. So I'm going to set up where my knee is just about up against the ultimate sandbag, lined up in the center with the handle. So there's my knee in line. Now, when we do a quadruped exercise, we want to really engage the ground. So this hand is going to be on the ground. My middle finger's at the 12 o'clock position. I'm going to try to grasp the ground like I'm palming a basketball, and I'm going to twist with that grip in this direction, towards my pinky. You'll see as I do that, I'm generating tension here. One of the muscles of our core that we often don't think of as a core muscle is our lats. Our lats aren't just for the shoulder, they connect one shoulder to the opposite hip. That's critically important for single leg activities in your core. So I'm gonna lock down that tension. This is my hand on the ground, so this is my foot on the ground. For this side, I'm pushing my toes. Now, this is gonna be the hand that would, in a traditional bird dog, be up here. But with the sandbag, it actually tensions the bag or actually drags it across. I will be dragging it. So I'm gonna generate my tension first by grasping and twisting, loading those toes, Then I'm gonna lock my elbow, take the slack out, and then move my leg and my arm at the same time. Now I switch sides. I'm gonna lock into the ground, load that toe, lock my elbow, and come out there. Lock in, move. Lock in, move. This helps create that cross-body patterning that we use with pretty much all sports. Okay, so now we're moving up off the floor. We started on our back with a bridge, moved up to the quadruped position, and now we're in half kneeling. So while we're here, the way we're going to utilize the sandbag is we're going to do a chop and lift pattern in half kneeling. And so when I'm in half kneeling, I really want to engage the ground. What does that mean? It means I'm actively pushing this foot into the ground, actively pushing this foot into the ground. When I am coaching people and they're in this position, I'll come behind them and lift up on their shin. And if that happens, I know they weren't engaging. So when I pull up on your shin, I should feel a fight. So I'm really engaging downward there, downward there. You want to have a distance of your foot apart such that you have a vertical shin. Now for me again, I'm going to grab the bag. A broader person might grab the handles. So I'm going to grab the bag, and now I'm going to do that same lift chop action. I'm going to be here, my elbows are locked straight, I'm crushing and tearing that bag, no sag, tearing. And now I go through this chop lift pattern while I'm engaging forcefully into the ground. Now, the next thing up from that is literally up from this. I'm going to be hovering off the ground. So now I'm going to come up in this position and be hovering and trying to stabilize against those three-dimensional forces. I could also turn it into sort of a split squat with a lift and chop. So I think it's always best if I was going to do a split squat, just down and up, that you start at the bottom so you get good orientation. So now I've got good orientation. I'm going to grab and tear, and now I can bring that into that if I want to. Just another way of utilizing this position or coming up into hover to develop a little bit more towards that single leg competency. Okay, so we started to get off the ground with our half kneeling progression, got into that hover position, and even did split squats. Now we're going to do some lunges. Now the lunge style of lunge we're going to do is referred to in the sandbag world as a max lunge. It was originally referred to as a rotational lunge because the transverse plane component is so obvious, but it's all three planes. So max, MAX, multiple axes. So it's a multiple axes lunge. I'll show you first with a reverse lunge. So I'm going to step back with my right leg and turn this in front of my left. The sandbag always goes to the side of the leg that's in front. So if I step back with this, or if I step back with this, it's always on the side of the front leg, okay? If I go forward now, there's a greater eccentric component to this, so you're gonna find people are gonna have success with this one probably before they have success with this one. But the concept is the same. Put the bag in front, or I'm sorry, to the side of the leg that's in front, okay? Now, that is the traditional way to do that. You can also do it holding it up here in this stance here, or in this holding position here. So when I have a front load position, it's called, I'm going to elicit a little tension in my body by trying to tear it, not so much with my hands, but with my forearms, sort of bringing the bag into my body and doing that. Now my lats are working, and now I can do a forward max lunge or a reverse max lunge, and I'm really combining a lot of cool things. In addition to that, you can use the suitcase handle for the max lunge. So now, when I step forwards, it's this. Now, this here, with this handle, creates a lot more swing to it, so that connection of the lat through your body into the opposite side glute is really challenged with the suitcase style of a forward lunge. Obviously, you're gonna do one side, your number of reps, switch, and then go to your other side. But there's a lot of good that can come from this lunging pattern for stability in all three planes to get you better prepared for single leg competency for those squats and hinges coming up. Okay, many of you are working towards a pistol squat. I am jealous of you. I am not gonna be able to do one. I've got the orthopedic surgery to explain why. But I still like to do them. I just can't do the full pistol squat ass to the grass like some of you can. In fact, this is about the height for me right now. So if I work on a pistol squat right now, single leg, that's what I look like. Not that bad, not awesome. If I hold the sandbag, it will do two things. It will obviously be a counterweight, but allows me something to squeeze to generate some tension through my fist, so that irradiates energy into my core. And then same thing, I'm going to try and tear it. So essentially, my hands are doing that. So I'm going to grab it by its waistband, crush it, tear it, hold it out as a counterbalance, and hopefully it looks a little better, it feels a little better. That's another way you can use the sandbag to help get you to some single leg squat competency. Okay, now we're going to talk about hinges. Getting ready to be able to do a single leg deadlift is a great drill, whether you have weights in each hand or just offset. It's a terrific drill. Getting there can be a challenge sometimes. We're going to use the sandbag to do two styles of hinges, the traditional deadlift and then a good morning. I'll show you how that works. With the deadlift, you're going to hold the clean handles like this. The suitcase handle is away from you. Now, what we're going to do to be single leg, there's air quotes there, is we're going to be in what's referred to as a sprinter stance. In the sprinter stance, if I've got all my weight on my right leg, my left foot's going to be on loaded toes, somewhere about the end of my heel on the other side. So we're going to be like this. It feels a little weird at first, and then you grow to love it, because you don't have to be a circus act to be able to train hard in single leg stance. Now, is this true single? No, it's probably 90%. But I can train heavy. This isn't heavy, but you can see what I'm gonna do. I can train heavy in this position and not have to be concerned about my loss of balance. If I go true single leg and I lose my balance, well, then I have a chance of getting hurt, and I certainly don't get to repeat my rep and train with focus because I've always got a certain concern about balance. So take that concern away. So right leg flat, sprinter stance left. I'm going to center the bag on my foot. So as I start to hinge, I'm going to see my foot right there, right in line with this handle. I'm going to crush and tear those clean handles and hinge. And there is a single leg deadlift sagittal plane. Now I'm also going to go frontal plane. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take a small step, shift my weight, hinge. Again, my foot centered there. I'm still tearing these to generate tension, and I'm back. So I'm here, just like that. And of course, I'll do the same thing in the other leg. Small step, shift my weight, hinge, and come back. So that's frontal plane. Now transverse. When it's transverse, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have one foot flat, and then take the other leg kind of behind me like that, like I'm gonna do a curtsy squat, but I'm gonna hinge. So I'm still gonna have my toes centered on the bag. I'm gonna hold the clean handles, try to tear them, and I'm going to hinge right here. Now I can just repeat this, or I can come up, reset, hinge again, come up, reset, hinge again. So, and of course both legs. So there's deadlift, 3 planes of motion, all single leg-ish. Now if I good morning, what that's going to do, same bag, higher center of gravity, will feel heavier. So if we go through the same idea, I get my sprinter stance, so my toe is roughly equal to my heel. I'm going to pull it in and tear it apart, and then hinge, and I can see my foot right between my two hands. And again, if I want to do it like this, I can drive that through like I'm stepping, reset, hinge, drive my foot through the ground like I'm stepping, or I can sit there and rep them out. When it goes to frontal plane, same as before. I'm going to take a step, I'm going to weight shift. I'm still tearing the bag, mind you. Hinge, and then push through. Or weight shift, hinge, and do rep after rep. There's very little weight on my trail foot. Transverse plane, just like before. I'm going to cross that over. I'm tearing the bag, and I can hinge one after the other, or I can come through and reset, just like that. So there's 3 planes of motion, 2 different ways with a good morning as well as a deadlift style. To work on that single leg competency, it's an amazing correlation of experience when you use a sandbag. When people use a sandbag and they hear, like, this is only 15 pounds, they hear about ones like, oh, it's 60 pounds, it's really heavy. 60 pounds is like barely an empty bar, right? It doesn't weigh much in the barbell world. But a barbell is flawlessly balanced, and it's got perfect little handles. And so it doesn't feel heavy unless you make it heavy. A sandbag feels heavy because of its unsteadiness. So when you're deciding about what you want to do with a sandbag, or you think it's good for your training, and you see people training with 30 pounds and it's a waste of your time, au contraire. You just have to learn how to generate tension. And that's why I love it as a physical therapist in the world of rehab. I teach people how to generate tension, and they walk in pain, they walk out of pain and confident and amazed at how much they can do, build a sweat, not hurt, right? That's the job. Get people back out of the world of rehab into the world of fitness. That's our job. There's a way to do it. I hope you enjoyed this video series. Enjoy the Pain-Free Performance certification. It's a terrific amount of information for you. I enjoy being your colleague.